Howdy, folks. Welcome to the very last Big Fat Supernatural podcast. As promised,
good.
as promised, this will be the last time that we are watching Supernatural or talking about it in a podcast. We're just donezo.
So what happens again because she lied.
And holy shit, do we have some winners tonight.
If you give her 3,000 per episode,
Yeah,
she'll do it.
I guess if I was offered, I wouldn't say no, but why would you want to pay for that? We're pretty done by this point. Good lord. So this was another block of 5 episodes, which is the last 5 of this season.
Too much.
Again, we broke it up into a couple nights.
Which was still too much.
Still too much. Yeah, but we were so ready for this to be over. By the end, it just felt interminable. So let's dive right into it. The first episode that we watched was called The Chitters.
Which was vampires.
Sort of, I guess.
Seasonal vampires.
Yeah. I have very little to say about that. It was very generic.
The thing I had to say was I'm getting amused at this point about how many different sheriff offices are apparently within a little bit of a drive away from the bunker. Because before at the show they traveled around, so it wasn't as silly. But at this point, there's like a million different sheriffs. Like, I think they have a poor idea of how many, like, sheriffs are in one area.
Well, I think that we don't know how long they drove to get there.
Yeah, okay, they drive days every time.
I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, but it's silly to, like, I'm not believing that they go for days long trips every time.
Well, they lived on the road for a long time, so that's
yeah,
really
but
not that
then
long.
you saw that they'd just stay at motels constantly.
Yeah, but it would be kind of boring just to show the in-between.
It would be boring, but it's silly to pretend that it seems like, oh, they're just kind of an hour away every time.
I suppose.
I
remember...
It's a minor thing, just with the fact that they're centralized now, that it would make more sense at this point if there was a central sheriff you saw more than once.
But then it would always be in the same town, and it wouldn't always occur in the same town.
No, it wouldn't, but whatever. Like, there should be people we're seeing more of if they're always sticking around the same area now.
But they're not always around the same area.
They are!
They're
never
not
said driving... They're not driving across the fucking country when they get a call of like, oh, a vampire did something over.
Yeah, but they're
there.
not. Just because they don't show it to you doesn't mean it's always taking place in Kansas.
My ass that they're going very far, though.
I have no idea. But the problem I have with it being central was what we talked about yesterday when we were watching it. Because we were watching it and we're both very checked out during this episode. And you're like, so what was the reason that they gave for not looking for Amara this time? And I don't think they gave a reason. They just said, like, we can't find her, but let's go out to this case. Which is a problem because it used to be, when they were on the road, if they were fighting some big bad from the season, like, they would come across cases while they were traveling. So it wasn't like they stopped. They just had things that they came across because they were going across the country. And here, with the centralized location...
Like they had a start of something like, oh, this seems like it should be immediate. And then they said, no, let's go do something else. Yeah.
Yeah, they wrote it a lot better than they do here. Because it's always very, like, why are they doing this when something bigger is going on? Yeah. Especially with how huge they've... upped the ante, in quotes, compared to, like, we're looking for a demon.
Yeah, like, Lucifer is just taken by Amara, and they know he's gonna be torturing him in Castiel's body. They know this.
Yeah.
And they act like that's not an issue at all. But then, like, the next episode, I think it is, when Amara calls up Dean and goes, oh, hey, yeah, I'm torturing him. He's like, holy shit, she has him, it's a big deal. Like, you knew that. You fucking idiot. Well, now it's important that you go save Castiel from getting, like, fucking shit up with inconsistent makeup effects.
Well, considering how things panned out, it really wasn't that big of a deal, so...
Well, no, it wasn't at all in the end because it was silly as shit. But, he acted like it was suddenly urgent when it
Yeah.
should have been urgent the episode before that. But now we have time to check out the chitters.
Yeah. They had the gay hunters in it, where it just sort of like... It's like, I get... They're a couple, but it could have been that they weren't a couple, too. Like, it was nice that they had gay characters, but it wasn't really supposed to be a punchline or, anything story-related even. It just happens to be that they're gay.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice, and quote, progressive supernatural, considering how no homo they've been for a long time. I remember they've had gay characters before. Like, Felicia Day, we couldn't remember if she was bisexual or lesbian, but either way, she'd fall in that spectrum. So I guess that was something, that they had going for them. They also had that, when they were at that convention, where people were cosplaying as them, and then the twist at the end was like them playing the brothers, they turned out to be gay, but that was just a punchline.
Mm-hmm.
But considering the show's been on well over a decade, it's about time they start moving into the 21st century.
Ugh.
I mean, it doesn't make the episode good. I just appreciated that touch.
The show is still being on just feels like they should move into the realm of having a point.
Yeah.
or fucking end it.
But yeah, well, that's all the other issues.
Yeah, I mean, that one part of that episode was good. But yeah, the rest of it pretty unmemorable, and I just didn't really care about it. Just felt like a weak vampire story.
Yeah, it was really weak. They had very sitcom-y music too. Like when they're like, oh, here's the opening scene, the cold open, and then cut to the bunker.
We had to be reminded that other hunters exist by showing us a montage of dead hunters.
Yeah, what's the point? It's one of those pointless montages. Like, don't bother.
It's like, hey, remember these characters? Bet you wish they were around instead.
Yeah, how many of those people in the flashback are currently still alive? Were any of them?
None of them. I don't think any of them are.
Were they all dead? I wasn't paying attention to the whole montage.
Pretty sure they're all dead.
Wow. Just wow. Yeah, it's hard to remember who is alive at this point. You got Garth, you got Champies.
Yeah.
I don't
Until
really
you
recall
kill
any
them
others.
off.
Yeah, till they're dead. I'm sure next
time
season
they show up, they're dead.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to find out through other people, because we won't be watching. That was the chitters. Next was Don't Call Me Shirley, which is a kind of funny title. But, so this is when we start getting into the fuckery of the end of the season here. Immediately, the episode starts with Metatron in a dumpster, and I said, fuck. That was my reaction.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was probably the best episode out of all the ones that we watched. This was the one where Metatron and God talk to each other.
Yeah, I have problems with their whole execution of God, but because the acting was good in it, it was better than the others.
The acting was stellar. It was honestly
Curtis
super
Armstrong
impressive.
as Metatron was really good in it.
It's such a shame because it's like, he was so good. He could have been this good the whole time, like you were saying. But
Yeah,
they
that's what
wasted
pissed
him.
me off thinking about it. I'm just like, oh wow, so Metatron could have been this really strong character, but this stupid fucking show shitted away.
Yeah, I mean, everything in that episode, in the context of everything that they've shown on Supernatural, before or after it, it does not fit in with it. It is far too good than what the season deserves. But, I mean, removed from it, it's excellent. Together, it doesn't make sense in context. There are problems with it, considering Chuck shows up, and they do confirm Chuck is God. He's been around this whole time.
Definitively
He's dinking
now.
around. Yeah, definitively, which I was saying before, I'm like, now that you've established that Chuck's God, it's a little bit silly that they're like, God's absent, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is how you bring these two together, and it's really bad.
Just they do too much doofy stuff with him almost immediately, and they go too far. They don't know how to have like a little kind of quirky, funny thing, and then move on. But they stick him there, and just like, what if he's making pancakes? What if he's doing all this other dumb stuff? Just like,
Supernatural is stuck in this mode of the only characterization they know how to do is dinking around watching YouTube videos in your boxers, eating food. And they've done it with so many characters.
Yeah,
exactly
just,
that.
okay, that's how you do a funny moment now, is just they're doing something mundane.
But that's the entirety of it, and you can't...
Yeah, but they do that with all of them. Like, oh, Crowley, what's he doing? Oh, yeah, he's doing something dumb, like listening to some pop music or something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the joke every single time, and they don't make it feel like there's any stakes.
Well, they never make anything feel big. Just the whole way they write any of these things now just feels like the end of the world just felt like, oh, fuck, well, that's kind of annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole, like, casual thing where it's like, this is a big deal because it's God, but it's casual. The only episode that it worked in was this one, Don't Call Me Shirley, because I felt like there was this nice juxtaposition of, like, can you not try to eat my calendar, Ash?
Keep that in. Scott.
I'll keep it in. My cat is trying to eat a calendar. Anyway, there's this nice juxtaposition of, like, he's going to end the world, but he's talking to Metatron about it, and it almost feels like a nice short. Mm-hmm. Like if you just watched a short movie that someone made about, like, what if God was talking to Metatron about why he did what he did, and they sort of have these conversations about the why of things, but in this really casual setting at a bar, and God is trying to write this new autobiography that he's getting Metatron to check for him. And I really loved, there was when things start coming to a head, and Metatron is really pissed off at him, and he's in tears, and it's this great acting moment where he's just like, you know, you didn't care, and you abandoned us, and you did all of this stuff, why? And then Chuck just looks away and just keeps typing. And it was this really cold moment, and it really turned things around for Metatron, who's been this despicable, pathetic character, and it turned you around to his side, and I thought that was a really great moment.
What's the classic thing with Supernatural, like, since they brought Metatron back, like, I'm not taking anything away from what he did in this episode, because it was all good, but they have a main villain, and then they float around with what side he's on after.
Yeah.
Because they kept him around, and it's just like, well, Metatron's not that bad now. Like, and Metatron's the only reason God gets involved with any of this, which is beyond silly when you think about what he's done before this.
Yeah, I sort of love that, though, that it's like that was the character that made him turn around. But like I said, I mean, it doesn't, in the context of the rest of the show, he's still fucking Booger who was defeated by having the recorder trick and fought next to some trash cans, and then was like a camera guy for a while, and all this other bullshit that's stupid. The character's been absolutely useless up until this point. But in the context of just this episode, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
They have the bit where they talk about Metatron trying to replace him, and he says that was just a cry for attention. It's like, so they just sort of, a lot of what they've been doing in these last episodes are just sort of like hand-waving away big plot things, like it's just, oh, by the way, no big deal, and then nothing is a big deal.
There was that amulet they said is supposed to glow in his presence. They kind of brought that up to try and fix a continuity error, right?
Yeah, they were just explaining plot holes, like, oh, I turned it off. It's like, wait, if Chuck was God, why didn't it do this? And blah, 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 blah. Oh, I turned it off. There are certainly problems with this episode, for sure. But there were also some things that were much too good for this season.
Mm-hmm. Much too good for the show at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have these moments too where they have good acting, but nothing about the story complements it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that they had to shoehorn in that Sam and Dean fog plot just because Sam and Dean have to be doing something. It feels like they shouldn't have even been included in the episode.
Oh, I forgot about how dumb that was. Let's block with duct tape.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe duct tape didn't block out the God virus or whatever.
But, it's like, it reminded me, the acting in this one, though, like when we had the purgatory thing with Dean and Benny. And it was only their acting that really sold anything about it, because otherwise the visuals they showed were pretty lackluster.
Yeah. I mean, they have some stellar actors on this show. They really do. And they just give them nothing to work with. And this episode really gave something meaty to work with for those two, for Curtis Armstrong and whoever plays Chuck. I don't know his name, but
yeah.
They had some stuff to work with. And there was some sort of funny moments, too. I mean, there's the fallback, like, what have you been doing? I don't know, I had a blog about cats, and I taught myself guitar, and all this stuff. But they also have, like, making fun of elements of the show, like, they're making fun of the episode Bugs. I really laughed at that line. Do you even remember that episode?
No.
It was a season 1, like, throwaway, where there was just a bunch of bugs, and it was just sort of like a generic filler one. And I guess no one really likes it, so... He's like, yeah, someone made that face when I turned in the manuscript for Bugs, or whatever. Yeah. But, yeah, they talked about some old episodes and things like that. And I liked, when God is sort of turned around and he starts singing that song at the end. Mm-hmm. It was an interesting take on God. But then you gotta have all the follow-ups, which sort of take away from it. Because as a one-off, it's fine, but I don't know if you want to continuously see this character, and that it becomes a problem.
The more you saw him, like, it hurt it, like, honestly.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, how I would do this, sort of, if I was wanting to introduce God in it, and I would probably have just had Chuck come in as a scribe and dispel any illusion that he's God first, as a misdirect. Mm-hmm. Like, have it addressed and then, have him say he's not, and whatever. Have him be a part of the story in some way until the big moment where you do find out he was actually God, when it matters, some big part with Amora.
Yeah.
And then, like, you only get like a minute or so where he's God and that he actually addresses anyone as such, and then it's over.
Yeah, but then it would sort of be a repeat of the whole reveal that he was God anyway, where it's like, huh? And then disappear.
Yeah, but, like, that wasn't super definitive until now, right? So...
I mean, it was...
That's why I would dispel it, because I'd just say, like, he was whisked away instead, because that could have happened.
Yeah, if they sort of, like, cast some doubts on, is this character supposed to be God or not?
Yeah. I just have him say that God called him then, and then
yeah,
that he had met him.
Well, because it's just a whole lot of underwhelming once people find out. I guess the most realistic...
That's the main problem I have, and I don't think you should have too much palling around with God.
Yeah, it just sort of, like, flatline.
I don't think it would have been, like, a retread, because he would be coming in as God at the moment that it really mattered.
Yeah. I mean, if you did it that way, it would certainly be better than what they did. But there's a lot of things they could have done that was better than what they eventually did.
Well, the execution on almost this whole ending was very lackluster. The other thing that annoyed me in this episode was when they had the Amora fog rolling in and they're like trying to block with duct tape, and Sam gets caught in it, and Dean's like on the other side of the room, fine for way longer than Sam is. I'm like, they do know that, like, it doesn't take it that long to get over to the other side of the room.
Well, he's
breathing it in, you stupid show.
Yeah, well, they Well, they acted like the fog was just hovering on half the room for a long time, the way the shot was
stupid.
The way the shot was done, because there was no fog on Dean's side. And then when he actually gets in there, I think they were saying, like, Amara was protecting him, and that's why it wasn't affecting him until it went away. I think.
I don't remember them saying that.
Yeah, he sniffs it in, and then nothing happens, and then he goes, stop this, he was talking to Amara, I think. So I want to say that's what was going on there. But even then, there was still no fog in the shots with him there, so it was like, why is it so slow?
They also forgot to duct tape the front doors, which obviously had cracks around them because they're just those slow closing doors. I love too the moment like then they're running from it, they go back in that police station with those doors that close slow, but they don't force it shut, so you just see it slowly creaking closed. Like, well, you had no rush here, guys. You're apparently running from this thing. You need this airtight seal around the place, but just leave that door creaking shut.
But you know what I think happened was, I think they didn't have permission to mess with the doors of whatever building they were shooting in. I think they couldn't put the duct tape in, and they couldn't smash the windows, because they don't show it happening. I'm like, well, why don't they just... The zombies are just gonna, like, smash through the windows. And then when they leave, because they realize the zombies are at the door, they go in another room, and it shuts before you hear the smash. You never see it. So I think they just couldn't deface the building, and so they were, like, cheaply shooting around it.
Evie.
Which is, like, maybe not the best building to be shooting at if you're doing your fog story. Just saying. I don't know, maybe they just ran into some shooting problems with that one, but it was definitely some noticeable cracks in your story here.
And God does a little cosmic undo on that, and lifes some people that were dead. It's like, oh, that's nice. You can life them, but not other people have died in this show pointlessly.
No, just the people from that immediate event.
Yeah. That's okay, but we'll get to a dumber one later.
The whole time I'm just questioning, I'm like, can he not get Bobby out of heaven jail? Can he not help him out?
Bobby's not in this one, so whatever.
Whatever.
They don't exist when they're not hired for the episode. They don't think of them. Even though they're supposed to be really important. But, this show's written like shit.
Whatever. All in the Family is immediately follows...
Archie Bunker's in the...
Archie Bunker, yeah. Well, Archie in the bunker. Man, I'm great. But Chuck reveals to them that he is God. He decides to do something because Metatron convinced him. And in order to convince Sam and Dean that he is God, he shows them Kevin, and then basically as a way to the fans to be like, hey, sorry about that, he goes like, upgrade, psh, after your 2-second cameo, I guess you're an angel, whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just sent him to heaven. Either way, it's like, what?
Yeah, I was a little confused about exactly what he did, but yeah.
Yeah, he just said time for an upgrade, so it might be he's just not a ghost floating around anymore, but...
Yeah. So his mom just crying because she was keeping him as a ghost purposely.
Yeah. Who cares about her? Whatever.
She's not in the show anymore.
Yeah, I doubt she'll be back. So they got some more Lucifer torture going on.
Yeah, this time his makeup, or was this when it happened, or is just... Because there's one episode where one side of his face was all, like, messed up pretty bad. The next episode, it's fine, except there's, like, some little blood applied to him, like little cuts and stuff.
I think it was still messed up. It could be he was healing...
it was way different in one versus the other, because they had it, like, all purpley and bubbly, and then it wasn't in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, it might be it was less bloody, or it might be, like, he's supposed to be healing.
She's healing him and then doing it again?
No, he's healing, because he's got powers to heal. Right?
You're letting him heal.
I don't know, because she hadn't tortured him for a bit.
I think they can usually heal when they're fucking getting tortured.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got powers and stuff. I mean, it's like, she's not trying to kill him, she's trying to get God to come.
Yeah, that's why she's got herself blocked from him.
That doesn't make sense. She warded himself against him, and then she's like, why doesn't he come? Well, why don't you take the ward off so he can find
this
you?
is the dumbest thing ever. Because, Chuck God goes, oh, yeah, she's warded herself against me. While she is currently trying to get him to come to her.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all for what her plan is. And then they're trying to find her, right? So they, like, Dean uses his supercomputer skills, and among the things he's looking up is social media. Like, do they think Amara's tweeting and they're gonna find her there? Or someone's like, Amara here, lol? Amara sighting? Instagram? Like, what? I don't understand that.
Man, this Lucifer torture's taking forever. God better show up soon, lol.
Picture of me and Lucifer. Selfie!
Yeah. He's not doing too good.
Warded myself, still waiting for him to come. Bad plan? Get this trending, folks.
Yeah.
Get this trending. Find me, God. Hit me up.
Is this where Donatello's in there too?
I believe it is. Yes.
Oh,
Well, okay, they have the return of the fog again, but God doesn't undo it, and thousands die this time, so it's worse than before. And then God's like, well, I can't undo it every time. I'm not going to be manipulated. And then they have the Prophet of Amara, which is Donatello, who was the only survivor from that event. And he helps them track her down. I don't understand why she made herself a prophet if she didn't expect him to find her, but then she's mad about it later and kills him.
I thought he got made into one because Kevin was sent up to heaven or whatever.
I thought they weren't sure if it was...
They said something about that.
They weren't sure if it was her prophet or God's prophet, but he had her in his head, so it was her prophet.
Because they still said something about it, like in the episode after, about it being... Because Kevin got called up, so he had a new scribe or whatever.
Yeah, but all the scribes have both of them in their heads? So wouldn't it just be God?
I don't know. Maybe they had them both.
It was all centered on her, though.
Yeah. I don't understand. I'm sure they said something about that, though.
I did kind of laugh at the line where he talks about his name. He's like, yeah, Donatello is named after him. The Ninja Turtle? Sam's looking at him like... That was pretty funny.
That was the moment the show really shone.
Megatron sees this going on the TV. And then he calls Dean up. Apparently they kept Megatron's fucking number. It's as scribe. So apparently they, like, kept contact with each other even after the whole, like, try to become the new god and murder him thing. Like, oh, it's fine. I know you murdered me next to some trash cans, booger, but I guess we can keep each other's number in case we need to contact each other.
And they did.
What sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense. They were never on good terms. Even when he was, like, pathetic human and they're like, whatever, you wiener, we'll just leave you here. It's not like they were ever on any terms that they would need to call each other.
No, they know by now. It's like, well, our villains are probably going to become our lame buddies, so we should probably get his number.
Just awful. This is where Chuck was in his boxers watching TV, too, where this just gets full on pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the show has been as pathetic as it was in these last few episodes. Like, it really was just so bottom of the barrel, underwhelming.
Yeah. Had this moment with Megatron and God, and then...
Yeah, just straight downhill.
Yeah.
Because that's... The character, he's just a schlub. And then there's a lot of things that you can't write around if you're going to make the character God. So there's a lot of things where it's like, that doesn't make sense. Why doesn't he just do this? He's God. And not even in a way like, God doesn't always intervene with things, or sometimes you don't understand, like God works in mysterious ways. That only works if God's not hanging out on your couch in his boxers making pancakes for you.
With this supposedly big enough issue for him to get involved in some way going on, but then he acts like it's not that big a deal until it is.
Yeah, because if he thinks that his intervention is needed, then why doesn't he do any of this stuff? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like my intervention's needed, but I don't know, in a certain way, but I don't really want to do anything right now, so pancakes and boxers.
Well, it's especially underwhelming, too, when, like, pretty much all of the show has been centered around God is not around. You know, like, they had the lead up to, like, Michael and Lucifer and all this stuff and the fight with the brothers, where it's like, they're stopping the end of the world and the angels are using them and stuff like that. And then they have, like, God's disappeared, no one knows where God is, everyone's trying to replace God. And then there were so many actually great moments with the angel characters or the demon characters, anything like that, where they're just like, why has God abandoned us? Why can't he help? We're having this huge struggle, and heaven and hell and all of these things that are going on. And then when you finally see God on this show, even though they already revealed, hey, it was Chuck, but when you finally see him as like a regular character saying, hey, it's me, God, it's just so underwhelming. This was the guy that everyone was like, it's not even like funny pathetic, it's just sad.
Mm-hmm.
And not in an intentional way. It doesn't seem like it's like, oh, I guess they sort of thought he was more than he was. It was just sad.
Yeah, it's just a bad portrayal, like a bad way to show him.
Because I could get it
like,
more.
They can't just stick at doofy, idiot, mundane stuff.
Yeah. I understand more in the episode with him and Metatron talking in the bar, because he was hiding out. He was like, I'm ashamed of my creations. I'm really bitterly disappointed about this. I am just going to chill out and do my own thing, and I'm going to stay in the safest place. And he's clearly scared of doing anything about his sister, because he's bitter about a lot of things that happened with him and Amara. And that makes perfect sense. But you still got the sense that he did have some authority. Because when Metatron starts getting pissed at him at first he just, like, tosses him away. He gets angry at him. Yeah. And that was sort of like a moment of, like, oh, he acts really chill, but actually he can be vengeful, too.
Yeah.
But then after that, when it's like, okay, I gotta get off my ass and do something, he doesn't actually really change from that. He just goes back to schlubbing and doesn't seem to have any kind of power. It's kind of like what the show
constantly does, doesn't it? Like, they act like, alright, this has hit the breaking point, it's time to do something, then it's not, really, because there's more episodes and they gotta fart around.
Yeah, basically, fart around the show.
Yeah, like, they've done this a lot. Just like Sam and Dean act like they've hit the breaking point, now it's time to do something. Next episode, no, it's not. It's back to the status quo, moping around the bunker or something, you know, whatever the order of the day is. But yeah, just doing that with God especially felt so asinine.
It just feels so incredibly underwhelming. I can't even begin to describe how underwhelming it is. Like, possibly the most underwhelming I've ever seen Supernatural. Just nothing.
Yeah, well, like, this is the moment where they've actually decided to bring God into the story, and then they just...
They're so spinning their wheels. I mean, there's just nothing to it.
Mm-hmm. They can't make any of this story feel important, or like there's any like stakes coming up, like things are really at their end, you know, like Amora should feel like a bigger deal than she ever does, but constantly, because of episodes like we're talking about the first one, where they feel like they can just go fuck around with vampire-y like things, like she doesn't feel that important, when really she's apparently supposed to be the biggest thing they've ever faced, because she's another god, basically. God's sister, and she's gonna do something. It's really important that you deal with her, but nah.
Well, you know, the question that always gets brought up is like, okay, after they fought the devil, how do you do how do you one up that? How do you up the stakes from that? Apparently their strategy is don't.
Yeah.
But don't even try, you know, because the thing is, you shouldn't try to just always one-up yourself. It should be just like, as long as the stories are good, as long as your stories get better, it doesn't have to be this more powerful force. You just have to tell a good story. But they decide just nothing.
Bring in something like that, and then just poorly write it, that so it feels really lackluster. Yeah, it's worse. Just have some other stories going on. You don't need this thing that feels like it's a ticking time bomb, but then you act like they go, oh, well, why don't we just reset the timer? And that feels like what they're doing all the time. Like, oh, that timer's going down. Oh, well, we can just press reset on it. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, time's going back down again, whatever.
It doesn't feel like a ticking time bomb. It just feels tedious.
Yeah, that's
it feels drawn out.
It feels like one they can just keep hitting reset on, so it's never going to hit its end, because they don't act like there's any big thing coming up. Oh, no. We got to do something now. Nah, we don't.
Yeah. It doesn't feel tense or suspenseful.
Just the way they fucking slap like random story of the weeks in when they act like there's a ticking time bomb. It's horrible.
So, they rescue Lucifer, because they think he will help them take out Amara. And just after they gave the stellar episode with Metatron, he did.
Yeah.
He got folded in a la Zod, shot away.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm sad, though. I was so fucking done with that character. They gave one stellar episode, but everything else was bullshit.
Yeah, they let him act once and then he died.
Yeah. I wish that had been him all the time.
Yeah, yeah. They showed us what he could have been.
Yeah. Well, it was clear they were writing him out, too, because they didn't have the actor anymore, I think. And so they're like, well, let's find a way to write him out of it. Mm-hmm. Because that was a little bit out of nowhere, I guess. Or it's like, no, I got this. Like, why does he think he's going to take her out? Or I don't know. Anyway, he's dead.
Buying time, really.
Maybe. That could have been it. You kind of saw, once he said, I got this, you knew. It's like, oh, he's going to die.
Yeah. I think he's supposed to have known he was going to die, too. But...
That makes sense. I'm glad they got in an emojis joke with him, though, before he died.
Yeah, he sent him poop emojis.
Emojis is the new Twitter joke, isn't it? Just say emojis all the time, like...
Emojis.
This is the millennial jokes now. Emojis. After that was We Happy Few. This is where God and the devil have an intervention. So it's like a pale imitation of the episode with God and Metatron talking.
Yeah, it was pretty boring. And, okay, so they rescued Lucifer last time, they bring him back, and then, Amora almost gets them with the car, but then he teleports it back to the bunker. It's like, okay, he can do stuff, when it matters, like, when it's the story needs him to, basically. He's, like, stupid. Anyway, he doesn't take Lucifer out of Castiel, and that really bothered me.
I guess he would have to be in someone?
Yeah, but demons can inhabit a corpse. Like, it doesn't matter. They can stick them in a corpse, and that's not bothering anyone. So, there's no real good reason besides they want it still to be Misha Collins as Lucifer, and they don't really have anything for Castiel to do again at this point. But story-wise, it feels fucking stupid that no one's going, hey, can we get Lucifer out of our friend here? And that God wouldn't be thinking that either, just like, oh, I'll just let Lucifer stay and that angel there. That's cool.
Well, and you think, too, after everything that's happened on the show, all of these huge moments, good versus evil, and you have the demons and the angels and all this shit, and you finally have God and the devil meet. The devil's response is just, screw you, several times. like a petulant child,
goes to his room and plays loud music.
And they literally do this. Like, it sounds like we're paraphrasing, like, haha, it's funny, it's like a kid. No, this is literally what they do. It is the lamest portrayal. It's not even, it doesn't have any teeth. It's not even as dark as they've had the devil on the show. It's just this underwhelming, half-assed attempt at comedy, I guess?
Yeah, again, it's the same joke. He goes and does something mundane. They're having a mundane intervention.
But you can't do that after everything you've done on the show.
Yeah,
if the entire show was like that... The show's
stuck in. Like we said, they're stuck in this one mode where they're like, look at that.
It's like they're afraid to go up, like, past a 5 out of 10 at any point in the show right now, because like they've had such high stakes on the show and such great acting, even with the devil storylines, and then now it's just nothing. And I just don't understand the reasoning behind this. You have such opportunities to do things, and also if you want to have, you know, oh, they got to team up with Lucifer because they got to team up with all these people to get Amara out because there's a bigger thing at stake. Doesn't it add more layers to it to have Lucifer is really not on board with this exactly because he has a problem with God and he's fighting them, and there's this huge tension there. And then when you bring in all the other forces, which is something from later in the episode, but when you bring in all these forces that are opposing, it makes it a more interesting dynamic than what they end up doing. It's such a lost opportunity.
Yeah, I remember when they were doing like their original stories with Lucifer, he felt like such a dangerous character and stuff, you know. Now, just to have this shit in here.
They had an episode, I don't remember what season, it was sometime after Castiel had showed up, but it wasn't too late in his run. But they had an episode where they and Castiel and Ruby have to team up against something, some demon or something. Mm-hmm. And you had this feeling like there was that tension there. Like, Castiel really did not like her, and she didn't like him because it was an angel and a demon having to work together.
Right.
But they eventually did, because of, you know, whatever they needed to do. That was better done than what was done here, which is just everyone's like...
Well, now they've made that such a mundane thing, like always happens.
Always.
They'll always just pal around with a demon, and it'll be even the new ruler of hell.
Yeah.
Why not? Because he can always just come around and go, hey, buddies, let's wear cowboy hats.
Well, I guess speaking of Crowley, he finally makes his appearance in these episodes that we were watching. He and Rowena are just being their big fat wiener selves.
Yeah, nothing new.
He's like, we're gonna make hell great again, and then all the demons laugh at him, and then Rowena's like, I'm gonna go back in time, and then I don't have to face the end of the world, because I'll be living in the past! Cool. Like, just when you think the show can't get any lower, like, they lower the bar so far.
Yeah.
They
also make her go and talk to some other witch friend. You're just like, why? I don't want to see this.
Because they have to half-assedly come up with an army from her, but they don't have any characters left. So they're like, well, here's all these witches.
I'm so sick of the show going like, here's a character walking and talking to a good buddy you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like her, one that feels so just barely tacked on still, just like, and we already thought we were rid of her, but then it's like, no, just kidding. And plus now here's her scenes with her talking to someone else who shouldn't be in the show.
They're like, we need to call in our biggest guns to take on Amara. So they decide the only characters that are around at this point that they can call in.
All bad guys.
Yeah, well, yeah. They call in Crowley and Rowena and the devil.
Yeah.
Team up with God, and the angels are behind them, and these covenant
not any
witches.
Real character angels, just background doofy idiots in suit angels.
My memory is terrible, but surely we can name plenty of other characters they've met in their run that are still alive, that are more powerful and useful than them for this task.
They're still alive, no.
That are still alive? I'm sure there has
No
to be.
one's still alive.
Well, I don't even mean just, like, old friends of theirs, hunters. I mean, like, people with abilities. What happened to Gabriel, the trickster guy? Like, he's still around.
Died.
Well, then they implied he was alive again.
Yeah, but we never got any definite proof he was. It was kind of maybe he was. Maybe it was really him in that. Which would have been nice, because we kind of hoped that, but they never followed up on it, so it's a question mark at best.
What about that episode where they met up with all the other gods? Surely they can...
killed Zeus already.
No, they had one where it was an episode where it was all the other gods from the different religions.
Didn't a bunch of them get killed, though?
Maybe. But once you kill off a bunch of gods, doesn't it mean, like, when you face another god, you can do away with them just the same? I don't remember how that one played out exactly, but you might be right, some of them did die.
I want to say at least some of them did, yeah.
But maybe some of them were still alive. I want to say some of them did. Yeah, and you do have the entire pantheon of Greek gods sans Zeus that you could try and reach out to. I mean, if you're teaming up with enemies at this point.
I don't remember that.
I'm just saying, like, this is a pathetic army that they put together.
Yeah,
no wonder they fail.
Well, what it should be is, the core group of main characters, like the other ones you cared about on the show, but they don't have any besides their former enemies at this point.
Good lord.
Like, it's pathetic. It's just, the show just did not know what the fuck is doing. It shouldn't still be on. Oh fuck. Yeah, speaking of death, fucking Donatello gets killed in this one, or at least soul stolen, so he's probably as good as dead.
Yeah.
But it's just like, at the end of the last episode, they put him in a taxi, said, LOL, bye. I'm sure everything will be fine, even though Amora has seen your face and knows who you are now. Oh, what? She showed up immediately and got him?
Whoa.
She had to do that to get the most obvious info ever, which was they were at the fucking bunker. Really? Were they at the bunker with God?
Well, she's like, where can I find them? Even though she's appeared in Dean's head at the bunker.
She called him up there at the bunker. She knows that's where they're fucking at. And then she goes, oh, I found out where they are. The bunker. Dun, dun, dun.
Another thing that super bugged me, too. They have this whole intervention with God and the devil where they gotta talk. And this is a huge problem with this in the finale, too, wherein they just solve things through very easy, simple conversations. And it's very jejune about it. It's very naive and childish and simplistic for this show to be like, this is how we solve these problems that are eons old. Because they're, at one point, teaching God what forgiveness is.
Mm-hmm.
God. Like, they have a conversation where, like, Lucifer just wants him to apologize, which seems like, after everything, maybe this is not the simple explanation we need for this. And God's like, well, I won't say sorry if I don't mean it. And Sam's like, well, sometimes you say sorry. It's not about actually being sorry and things like that, or,
being right.
Yeah, it's not about being right, and it's like, you guys are teaching God what forgiveness is, what apologies are. I mean, it's God. This doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it's stupid to have God be a character at this point. And then he apologizes to him, and they have a quick conversation about 2 minutes long, and I guess there's an alliance now. I guess they're coolsies.
Yeah.
So apparently all the problems that ever happened in the show could have been solved with a 2-minute conversation, but God or the devil never thought to do that.
Yeah. So then we get to Amora about to attack them. They lure her in with Rowena. Because of course, and she has more witch friends, which she combines with while they're at some cottage somewhere else, but somehow they combine with her through magic to shoot super purple lightning bolts at Amora, which annoys her. So then she strikes back, killing all the rest of them, but not the one she actually shot, Rowena, because that makes as little sense as possible.
She had a direct strike, and they still didn't have the balls to kill her off.
No, she should be dead. Like, especially if the other ones die, you're gonna say the one who directly took it was the least affected? That's fucking stupid.
The show doesn't want to kill off the people you want to see die, and then kills everyone else off that you're like, nah, I would have been cool with them living.
No, because every other character has to be this half-villain, doofy idiot who can't decide what side they're on. Like, that's the only other character they apparently think should be in the show at this point.
They had the fucking line where, okay, first of all, the dream team gets together, and everyone's so ho-hum about this, even though all of these forces that were at one point big bads, huge plot points, they meet up, and it's just like, ho-hum, whatever. And everyone, all of the bad guys, are kind of acting like, oh shucks, it's God. I feel kind of bad now that I'm directly talking to God, which is really just a big fat weenie thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Rowena's sucking up to him, and she's like, oh, sorry about all that stuff. And he's just like, oh, you're one of my guilty pleasures.
Ugh.
Fuck off, show. She's no one's guilty pleasure. Fuck off. just fuck off trying to speak for the audience. Alright? No.
Mm.
And, like, how insulting is that to be like, oh, God's like, these evil people that have killed people and caused such strife, you're my guilty pleasure. Like, what?
Yeah.
Is no one not a complete dick in this universe?
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
So all the witches...
I like the idea even that, that God's planning to do something, but he needs these, like, distractions first?
I guess it was to weaken her, because when he previously trapped her, he had to get the help of all the archangels and Lucifer to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like him alone could do it, and that's why he needed their help to weaken her first.
Like, some of the things, like, it just feels so silly that that's good enough. Like, some witches, like, just a few witches shooting a lightning bolts at her that annoys her. She gets a smiting, I guess, which is something that feels a little more legit, but even then, that was very silly looking. And
well, the smiting happened previously. That's why she was weakened before.
Yeah.
So that made sense.
I just mean, in the time they did it this time, though, it just felt like really annoying to her. Like, oh, she's getting thrown around in wind and stuff.
Yeah, well, all the stuff that happens combined with the smiting that previously took her out for, like, an undetermined amount of time, but like a lengthy amount of
time. She wandered around the woods, yeah.
Yeah, but it was at least a length of time where she was out of commission for a while. That combined with the witches and all of the demons and fighting God, she just heals herself and goes, just kidding, and then basically kills God and then is starting to destroy the world.
I wanted to get to that Lucifer apparent, like, I don't know what he did the other time, but this time it felt really dumb because he stabbed her with a Hand of God spear. I'm like, wait, so they needed Lucifer there to do something that God could do?
Yeah, it's supposed to be it has power because God touched it, but you have him right there!
Yeah, like, what? You just needed it to be in her back, like, while she looked at him. That's the only reason they needed Lucifer there.
And then she just casts Lucifer out into the world anyway. Like,
yeah.
what?
It's like, well, thanks, Amor. I guess you did the nice thing for Castiel that God wouldn't.
Yeah. That's a whole other dumb thing. Lordy. So then she's like, oh, after all that stuff, I'm apparently more powerful than, with all of this stuff combined, than when I just had the one thing happen to me. I healed myself, and then here, I'm gonna destroy the sun, and by the way, God is on a ticking time bomb because he's gonna die.
Put her sealed back up, and there's little melodrama about Sam being the new Mark of Cain guy. And
Yeah, but how did
you
she...
never believed it was going to happen in
Yeah.
that first second.
Well, I mean, and how did she make herself stronger after that, though? That would weaken her more. This
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
because they needed it to go to this. I'm not going to let myself be thrown back in there. Your whole plan was stupid. Oops. So then, yeah, just she, I don't know, does some you'll die eventually thing to
Yeah,
it
eventually.
because she needs to give them time to come up with another plan.
It all felt like that should have been the finale. And then it felt like, oh shit, we actually had a 23 episode order. Let's tack on something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the finale, which was Alpha and Omega. Everyone just kind of dinks around, like, I guess the world's gonna end.
Yeah.
And it feels like nothing. Like, it felt like...
time for some beers.
Yeah, it felt like... It felt like this should have been, like, the order should have been switched. Like, this is like the lead up to the finale where everyone's like, I guess the world's gonna end, and then they rally together and go, "Lord, let's have one big fight," but they did an opposite.
And the Amora battle should have been way better than what it was too. Like, there's so much of the supernatural battling where they're just kind of standing there and then they shoot something, some beam or something. Like, there's just no action to it, really. Just some special effects thrown around for a second while someone's like, I'm angry.
Well, this was by far the most bloodless finale battle. I'm not even talking about the ending of the last episode. I mean, like, when they're fighting Amara, no one...
Sam and Dee barely do anything. They're barely a part of it.
Yeah, but, like, no one is bloody or bruised or anything, and normally they, like, beat the shit out of everyone. But they're acting like this was, like, the battle royale, right? Like, everyone's, like, on the ground the beginning of the next episode, like, we gotta recover, and oh no, I guess the world's gonna end, and then they're all looking like, oh, the sun's gonna explode, or whatever. Everyone looks fine. Including God, who's apparently dying. They keep talking about how bad he looks the whole episode. It's like, I don't know, they didn't even look like they added makeup or anything.
No scope at all to this end of the world thing. They just kind of, like, look at him like, oh, that's a bummer, I guess.
It's yeah.
So the world's gonna end. The world has a resounding meh.
Yeah. This was more underwhelming than the booger trash can fight.
Like, apparently the whole universe is gonna end even, but no one cares.
Yeah, the universe is gonna end, and they just act like, whatever.
That's kind of annoying, I guess.
Crowley might as well have not been there. He seemed checked out. I don't know if Mark Shepard is just, like, done at this point, but he just seemed like he didn't want to be there.
Fuck. Yeah, he shot his magic red cloud at her at one point during the whole battle, but yeah. Then they went to the, what was it, Lazy Shag, which we think maybe is the bar restaurant above Hell's, like, basement.
That's the restaurant where they make other pizzas above Hell's basement. The Lazy Shag. Holy shit.
Lazy episode.
Lazy episode, yeah. The booger death was more brutal than anything that was going on in that finale fight. When he got squished, it felt more brutal than anything she did, even, like, weakening God and killing him. And then God talks about how he's...
Yeah, because it's just a light show. He's like, ow, I'm dying.
Yeah, and then God talks about how he's losing a spark.
Yeah. Like he has the spark of a Predacon. Dun, dun, dun.
Megatron could have told him that.
Yeah. Yes. God, you were a Predacon the whole time. Oh, yes, indeed. Dun, dun, dun.
The death of God is like the Transformers' death of Optimus Prime.
God's a Predacon? Well, that's just Prime.
The death of God is like the death of Optimus Prime. Dean, take the Allspark. You're the new leader.
Allsparks movie universe, so I don't care about that.
Otherwise, it makes perfect sense. But if you movie universe, nah.
Well, I don't know it now. I care about it.
Dean is the new Rodimus Prime, right?
Well, that just means he's got the Matrix and now he's not going to do anything. Dynamis Prime! This is the end of the road, Godatron! Dare to be stupid! Dare to be stupid! Oops, wrong one.
So they decide that they're going to get rid of Amara by creating a soul bomb.
No concern is ever voiced for what this will do to the souls.
Yeah, no one cares about the souls, not even God. Like, what inconsiderate jackasses.
Yeah, that's
No
my
empathy.
immediate thought when they brought it up. I'm like, does that destroy the souls?
Yeah, like, why is no one concerned about this?
Yeah, just like, oh no, it's grand. Just fucking have a bunch of souls blow up. Because they to kill Amora, because she's the darkness, you'd need like a fucking bunch of supernovas, and they said, well, you can get the same light from souls.
But never do they voice the fact that she eats souls.
Eat souls, yeah, fuck.
She eats souls, so wouldn't that just make her more powerful? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, isn't that just going to be like a big dinner for her? Or?
Yeah. You would make her more powerful and screw the world even faster. I don't understand. What no one questions this at any point. You brought that up, and I'm like, oh yeah, but then they never say it. And I was like, oh, is that what's going to happen? Are they going to be like, oh shit, we thought it would work, but it actually made her more powerful? But it didn't. Apparently, it's just never addressed.
I love too that it's Rowena that can get this done.
Yeah,
again, like the stupid idiot can apparently make a soul bomb that will kill a god. Like, shut up.
Yeah, and this is where they bring the payoff for the Reaper lady.
Yeah, I guess you'd need the souls, and yeah, this is Reaper lady's fucking undoing.
Well, she's like, I'm gonna
waste this.
Yeah, everything was a waste. And apparently she's the only Reaper that exists in the universe. She's like, I'm almost about to reap God at this point. And it's like, okay, first of all, they're talking about how the angels are holding up in heaven to die with dignity.
Yeah, so she's not going to be reaping shit. If she's
like,
an angel, she's going to disappear with the rest of them.
Yeah, because I forgot, Reapers are angels now.
Yeah. You shouldn't have said Reapers were angels, or maybe we could have said that they exist beyond, this universe or something. But no, they're angels. They're gonna die like the rest of them.
Everything would be destroyed. Apparently, heaven and hell would also be destroyed. So why she wouldn't be reaping anything? Everyone would be gone. Because God dying equals everything's gone. So the sun thing is just sort of a moot point. Because apparently everything would be gone anyway.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be the light in the universe going out, I guess. Probably, like, all stars were supposed to be doing that, I guess.
I guess. Just... And then when they're like, the Reaper lady is like, hey, what's going on? They're like, we gotta create a soul bomb. And she's like, okay. That's the payoff.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to Luigi, Mario. Okay. Okay.
She just dumps in like 100,000 or something. Like, I love that they needed that many too. And Sam and Dean's plan was, well, we're just gonna go to this abandoned hospital. We'll get like 5.
Yeah, they start busting ghosts.
They think they had.
Yeah, they start busting ghosts. Like, this is gonna be how we save the world, because busting makes me feel good. And they're like, well, ghosts are just a bunch of souls with baggage anyway. So they're like, who gives a shit? It's not like we ever knew any ghosts except for Kevin and Bobby, but we don't know these ghosts, so we can destroy them. It's fine.
Yeah, it's alright. If we don't know them, it's cool.
Were Kevin and Bobby among the souls that were put in the soul bomb? Like, who knows? No one really knows.
Stuff from heaven. Oops.
Well, they didn't say where the souls were from. Yeah, they didn't say where the souls were from.
Yeah, it could have been from heaven.
They could have been from heaven.
Yep,
they didn't say they were bad souls.
Everyone.
Well, they would be from heaven, because the ones in hell would be like demon smoke. They wouldn't be all light. If you could just use demons, then you would use demons.
All purgatory.
Benny's in there, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You betrayed me, Dean! Thought you were gonna get me out. You were gonna use me as a soul
betrayed
bomb.
Yeah, not getting him out after he promised.
Yeah, could he been like,
we're not revisiting this, so.
Can he be like, hey God, can you do me a favor? Can you get my friend out of purgatory? Can you get my friend out of heaven jail? Can you fix all of these things?
Well, these are things that people think of if they're not shittily written characters and forget, characters that were really important to them when they're not in the episode.
Goodness gracious.
Just so shit.
But really, this episode was just boring as hell. It was so tedious.
Yeah.
And they had a couple lines in this episode that were a pretty good summary of this, which was, well, this is exciting and boring. That pretty much sums up my feelings on this finale.
Why were there parts with Crowley discussing his mom issues with God?
Because he didn't have anything else to do.
He's gonna betray you.
Well, okay.
Well, she's being nice right now.
Well, okay. I mean, I say he didn't have anything else to do, but I guess I sort of get it, because the theme was family. Like, even though you hate someone, sometimes you love them, and this was the whole thing with him and Amara.
Those.
Yeah, I mean, like...
Bad example.
It's a terrible example, but they didn't have anything else to work with, because everything's awful.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what they were trying to do with it. Very poorly.
Didn't really build up to their main point with it, because it's just... Yeah.
You know
the fact that she's two-faced is all they really got out of that scene. Like, besides God saying, well, I think she's my favorite guilty pleasure.
That was possibly worse than the feety pajamas scene. Guilty pleasure. But you know what their secret weapon was? Old lady who feeds birds. Yeah. Apparently they just needed an old lady who feeds birds. Was she British?
No, we need to get to old British.
Okay, yeah, I was going to talk about that after, because it sort of leads to the ending, but...
Okay, but it's throughout the whole thing. But yeah, okay, old lady that feeds birds, dumps on Amora. Family, important. And she goes, wait, maybe she's right. Maybe family does equal important.
Which goes back to my argument about why this is so simplistic and naive. Like, it's overly simplistic for the themes that they're going with. Like, because they just mention very common sense things, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, for eons we didn't think of this until Old Lady with Birds showed up. And then we're like, hey, wait a minute. And then when Dean shows up and he's like, hey, maybe you should patch things up with God. And they have
to put the soul bomb in someone. That's something she tells them after or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, the soul bomb has to go inside someone. And then they have to like put their fingers together and blow it up.
Yeah.
And then Dean immediately goes, oh, like this? Oops. And then they all die at the end.
We were this close to winning. Oh boy! Why did I do that?
Oops. You just hear oops. The end.
They have so many.
But you know what's so sad? You have this scene where Dean has 100,000 some souls in him going up against another equivalent to God, and it doesn't feel like he's in danger, really.
No. Well, because he knew he wasn't going to die, even though they had all these lead-ups.
Because it just feels very, well, we're going to have a bit of a chat.
Yeah. There's been so many finales that end with one of the brothers dying, so either way it would have been disappointing if he did die, it would have been disappointing if he didn't. But you knew he wasn't going to, because they aren't going to pull that shit again. So it's just sort of lame.
They pulled a lamer one of those, which isn't real.
Oh, like maybe Sam is shot.
Yeah, that bullshit.
Who cares? Apparently he'll just walk it off like with those werewolves.
Because the next season's really going to start with his corpse.
I would love it if it did, but I'm not going to watch to find out.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on that, actually.
Yeah, but it's fine. He'll walk around for a long time and then revive after going into shock. And then fight off some werewolves.
Fucked around that Reaper thing, so probably it'd be like, oh, well, it's okay now. I won't dump you guys into the abyss.
God's like, hey, one more favor. Now that you got your buddies with God.
But yeah, it's just, Amora goes, yeah, you know what, family, pretty important. Have a chat with God and everything's fine.
Yeah, like everything is just solved super easy through very simple conversation.
Yeah, I'm
takes 2
fine
seconds.
with it that being, the the way it gets resolved in the end, but not this execution. This was
Yeah.
horrible. I like the idea of that being how they solved this one instead of it being a battle, but that was not the way to do it.
Because
You have
it's
to have these meaningful things said during the heat of intense battle or whatever, fighting for the world while it's ending. Make things feel like it's intense, that things are going to end. Like you need some tension here. Just don't make it feel like, well, it's not a big a deal. The world's ending, sure, but I'm just gonna have a
yeah.
stroll in a park with a god and say, yeah, family's pretty important, you know.
I mean, it's admirable for a show as violent as Supernatural to say, like, what if we solved this ending of
Yeah.
the season arc by saying, like, they forgave each other. And that's a great thing to do with these characters, because then God sort of finds his way, and then Amara sort of learns about beauty in the world and accepting forgiveness and things like that. But just the execution is abysmal. Because,
All
like,
that is great. I think that's the one thing I liked about this ending. I was like, okay, I like that, but I think this is a piss poor way to get to that point.
yeah. I'm gonna use Buffy as another example of something of doing this right. And spoilers for the end of season 6 of Buffy, if anyone cares. The ending with Evil Willow. Willow is going to destroy the world,
Yeah,
and
that
she's
felt
killed
like
people.
The world was ending a lot better than this.
Yeah, she's killed people. And she's going to destroy the world. And you think, like, after all the endings of Buffy, which have basically been like, there's a big battle and they gotta kill something, and there's a lot of a big fight and strife and all of that, and after all this build-up, the person that saves the world is Xander, by giving the Yellow Crayon story.
Yeah.
And he goes like, I love you no matter what. I love you when you're big and scary, and I love you when you're crying over a crayon when we were little kids. And he solves it through just talking to her. He has no powers, no abilities. He could be killed immediately, but he solves it through love. But they don't just say, this is love, love is important. It's the simplest way to put it. You have subtext. And there was no subtext here with these two.
This would be like if that Willow thing was going on and then she strolled by an old woman feeding the birds. She's like, oh, you know what's really important is love. And she goes, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's just so childlike.
Yeah, and the whole thing, it was very intense when he is doing that speech at her because, he could be killed at any point, and it's all done very well. It's very dramatic and stuff, you know. Yeah, it's night and day with that.
Yeah, because there's ways to do that without just coming off amateur, and that's what it came off like. Samateur hour.
Is one of Megatron's best quotes.
Samateur hour. You know what? After everything is said and done, I'll miss you, Megatron. Truly, you weren't Samateur hour at the end.
Yeah. Proved you can have a good episode.
So, okay. The Men of Letters thing. You want to take this one?
No. Okay, in an episode that felt like it was filled with filler, came filler.
Holy shit, was this pointless.
Felt like so irritating to watch in an episode where you're almost checked out anyway. You're like, I'm so done with this show. But then they go, hey, you know what? Here's some British woman dinking around in Britain. Well, supposed Britain, and she's got pictures of Sam and Dean on the wall, and that's all you get for a while. And then you get to see her like getting off a plane and getting guns from her nanny or whatever, her maid who watches her kid or some dumb shit. Because she's from Men of Letters, Britain branch.
Man,
And
did this feel pointless. And
Yeah,
it felt like such an intrusion, and not an intriguing intrusion, because A, she doesn't have anything to do with the plot of what's going on, she's just setting up the next season.
Totally disconnected.
It's totally disconnected. And B, they literally give us nothing but she's some lady who has some pictures of Sam and Dean in the basement.
Yeah.
That's it. And then she just flies in and then wastes time.
Oh, well, it's, the sun's setting here too, so I guess that means the world's ending, so Oh, darn.
What what time of the day was it anyway? Like, was it the same time in Britain as it was with them? Like,
Well, I guess it was that like that everywhere because the sun's dying. But yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
no, it doesn't make any sense. That doesn't
Because the
change the
sun would
rotation of
still
the
be
Earth, even
set
if the
somewhere. Yeah.
even if the sun's dying. There's a rotation of the Earth that means that there's different time zones. But whatever.
We'll just say that Amora killed time zones.
I already know, having seen very little of this British lady, that she would annoy the shit out of me because she comes off like a Bella type character. She comes off like a Bella type character, like one of those annoying, like, I gotcha, I one-upped ya, I can do it like the boys.
In the episode where we're dealing with, the end of the world and another god equivalent, it's like, but here's your hook for the next season. Men of Letters Britain branch are pissed at Sam and Dean.
Here's your hook, woman with a gun.
Yeah, that's your hook. Like, seriously, that's supposed to intrigue me to want to come back for that shit? You got a fucking idiot with a gun?
Yeah.
She goes, hey, I came here to reprimand your pants, Sam, because you guys have been real bad, and you've been involved with these world-ending things, so I came to arrest you if the world didn't end, fingers crossed. And it's like, seriously, that was their response to the world's about to end. They go, all right, you go arrest Sam and Dean if the world doesn't end, okay? Like,
shouldn't you be trying to stop
yeah, okay,
world?
let me just pat my stupid little kid on the head and I'll be off. Like, that's how she wanted to end her life? Possibly was just, gotta go on a flight and hope the world doesn't end so that I can shoot someone in a bunker.
Yeah, smarmy British lady. Like, there was no endearing or intriguing personality traits that were presented here as like, ooh, this is an interesting character. It was just, I got nothing from her.
Apparently the Men of Letters Britain branch are fucking morons. Like, oh, world's gonna end. Well, if it doesn't, can you arrest them? Like, that's your ideas? Oh, the world's gonna end. You know what? Arrest people for it.
Yeah.
If the world doesn't end, that is, because if it ends, well, then we can't arrest them. But
why weren't they around before all those other apocalypses that Sam caused?
Why weren't they involved before this? Stupid fucking useless sacks of shit. If you fucking exist, do something about it. Like, they should have been saying something when the fucking darkness got released if they knew about it. Fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's the time to act, not when the world's about to end, you shitheads. Fuck. It's so fucking stupid, even for fucking Supernatural.
Like, speaking of season 6 of Buffy, it comes off like the nerds of that season, where you're like, why is this the... But at least then, it sort of made sense. And at least then, when they had like, oh, they faced all these other things, but guy with a gun, that was sort of like, oh, after all of these things, that's what got him. That's what's so heart-wrenching about it. Where you're like, oh, fuck, it was a guy with a gun. That's such a kick to the balls, But this is like underwhelming, presenting as like, this is the new threat for the next season. Like, when I said before, like, you don't have to constantly up the stakes, you just have to tell a good story. You have to present a formidable foe. It doesn't have to be, like, constantly another god or another, something even bigger than this and all that. Like, you just need to have something intriguing. Get something new that we haven't come across. Men of Letters is not something new. Person with a gun is not something new.
And then her shooting Sam off screen, which just means he wasn't shot or he was shot somewhere unimportant.
Well, she shot Felicia Day. That's what we're gonna see. Off-screen shooting. Oh, it was Felicia Day the whole time.
Yeah, I guess that ruins that, because I was like, yeah, there's no way she's dead from that. Oh, wait, she is, because the show sucks. Yeah, okay, maybe the show will come back and Sam will be dead in the pool of his own planet.
Yeah, it seems like something they would do.
It was like, well, at least one of the brothers died at the end of the season.
Just head, half of it missing, blood gushing everywhere. But Amara couldn't
Hey,
bring
Sam, I didn't really die. There's a burger here. Oh, you're dead.
Amara couldn't bring him back. She was too busy bringing back someone else. Holy shit! When they do that, okay. When they have the final moment of forgiveness, and Amara's like, "Hey, you gave me so much, Dean. I want to give you what you want." I joked. I was like, "Oh, he's gonna come back and his mom's alive."
Because they also
then,
visited her grave earlier.
Yeah, I was like, but they wouldn't, right? But then they did!
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Everyone else needlessly killed off in this show. They can't come back, but his mom, yeah. This means, because if you bring her back, that's destroying any limitations on the time bullshit. Because everyone else has been dead shorter than her.
Yeah, well, apparently she can only bring back one person.
Yeah, of course. She's just God.
Yeah.
God's sister.
Maybe they'll reveal later in the season everyone else is alive again. They're like, by the way, sorry about killing everyone. We had to do a big undo, but here you go.
Then maybe I'll watch again if Bobby's alive.
They jumped
you have
about
one chance to make me watch your next season, Supernatural. That's if Bobby's alive and a main character, because you undid it all. That's your only chance.
They jumped about 10,000 sharks in this episode. Holy crapola. And that's such a hollow thing to do as well, because there were a lot of pointless deaths on this show. Too many pointless deaths. Almost all of them, but the death of their mom, like, story-wise, is so important.
Yeah, that's the one you never said, well, she needs to come back. It was part of the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole launching of it. And, part of the reason that they became hunters was because of this tragic thing that happened. Well, it was the whole reason they became hunters, is this tragic thing that happened, and it built so much of their lives that they didn't have their mother. And it makes it all ring a little hollow now. I mean, there were so many other deaths you could have rectified there, but that one I really feel did not need to be rectified.
Yeah.
Bring back Joe and Ellen.
Don't visit their father's grave or anything. It's
just their mom. I thought that was weird, too. I was like, after all their daddy issues, they barely ever mention their mom anymore. And then, they go to visit the mom's grave and the mom's grave only.
Yeah. They're saying his amateur hour that has more issues with his mom than Dean. So.
Yeah.
It seemed like it'd been more meaningful if that was something with Sam, at least.
Yeah, Sam definitely seemed like the one that was missing the mom the most. Like, he projected more on his mom that he didn't have, I guess maybe what he thought his mom was, and Dean projected more on their dad.
And he saw her, on the ceiling and stuff.
Yeah, well, didn't Dean see you too?
Yeah, I guess he came in.
Yeah, he would have remembered, because I don't think Sam remembered, because he was a baby.
He did eventually, though, I think, because I think something made him remember it.
Maybe. Maybe when he saw the play in the 200th episode with her on the ceiling, he's like, oh yeah, I remember now.
Wait, God was there for that play. He said,
wait a minute.
"Well, you know what? This is important enough for me to show up for, but fuck the rest."
Yeah, they could have been like, "Hey God, why didn't you get Adam out of hell? Can you get him out of there? Nah, no can do. I don't want to be manipulated."
Yeah, I can't be manipulated for shitty things like that.
I love the play, but I ain't getting him out of hell.
What if it was Adam who was there at the end?
Yeah, it'd be like, "Oh, finally, I didn't really want you back."
That's
Can
how
I
the
trade
next
you?
episode will start. His mom will be standing there, but then she'll fade into Adam.
Surprise, bitch! Thought you weren't gonna see me again, did you?
Whoops.
Adam's working with the Men of Letters.
I am the Men of Letters.
I'm the Man of Letters. I'm Letterman. What?
These my letters. F you.
Oh, such TV appropriate language.
You know what, you pile.
Cram it with walnuts chuckles. So that was the ending of all of Supernatural
That's
for
the
us.
end of Supernatural, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the ending. That's the Men of Letters didn't happen. Actually, no, it did. Sam's dead. That's the end. Sam's dead, and Dean has his mom back, and then God made up with his sister. It's a perfect finale. I couldn't have thought of a better one.
She also liked people that matter, like Bobby, and they said, Sam's dead, lol, and they drove around in their heaven tank.
Yeah, Dean just drives over him in his car.
Like, we're alive again, yeah, but they let me keep the tank. Okay, cool. And they drive around in the heaven tank.
Amazing.
And then they go see Sheriff Mills, and Bobby and her get together, and it's all happy.
That's great. That's great. You know, I'm glad the show is finally over for realsies. They had a great ending.
The show with Bobby and Sheriff Mills and stuff, and that'll be way better.
Yeah, let's not have any spin-offs. Let's call this done. Can we stop the Supernatural
If I
gravy
wanted to
train?
watch anything, it'd be that, but yeah.
The gravy train is pretty curdled and spoiled at this point. It's pretty nasty.
Well, as long as Sam and Dean aren't in it, it's fine.
They'll cameo.
Other people run it.
They'll cameo and be giant assholes. They're like, no thanks, you can go.
It's us from season 9. Let's torture everyone.
Why do they sound like that?
Because they're fucking assholes.
Someone asked me, so I guess I gotta ask you, how does this season compare to season 9? Was it worse or better?
It's better because they aren't. You didn't have to follow two unlikable assholes the whole time, but it was mediocre, mundane at best.
I agree. It was better in that it was less infuriating, but
it was a drain to watch season 9 just because they're so unlikable throughout the whole thing. Like, at least Sam and Dean got out of that phase, but now, like we said, their main thing now is just doofy, mundane jokes.
Yeah. I gotta say, this season made me feel pretty insulted, though. Truthfully, like the way that they handled the stuff with God and with Amara near the end, like it was really insulting.
Away.
Yeah, they just hand waved everything. And the thing with Castiel too, when he gets Lucifer cast out of him, and then the next episode he's just doofing around, and then like Dean's like, "Hey, how you feeling?" And he's like, "Oh, I thought I was gonna help," and blah blah. So ho hum. And it's like, okay, but Castiel was probably the character that would be affected the most by God coming back out of all of the main cast. But there's never any acknowledgement of him like, hey, God's back. What does that mean? Because he was the one that, he tried to replace God too at one point. And he was saying God abandoned us. And, you know, he was the one that had the most conflict about his...
He doesn't even get to talk to him, does he?
No, I don't know if they ever have any scenes talking to each other.
Yeah, it's only as Lucifer.
He is the one that has the most struggle over whether he should serve God or whether he should be helping them, or if that conflicts with serving God, helping the Winchesters. There was so many things about his relationship with God that were just tossed away.
They tossed shit away, though, in season 9, too.
How did...
Tossed away any likability.
Okay,
like,
here's my question.
Abaddon should have been a big deal, and they fucking pissed that away so horribly.
Here's a question that I got. If people seeing angels' true forms with their own two eyes burns their eyes out, as we've seen before, how come Megatron, as a human, was able to look on God and he was fine as long as he had sunglasses on?
Because they were God's sunglasses.
Oh, well then that makes sense. Complaint done. Yeah, I agree though. Everything was just hand waved away. So I mean, what was the stake that they had that they wanted to focus on, that they hand waved everything away for? Apparently nothing. They just chose to focus on none of it. And for so much, an episode that wasted so much time too. If they're just going to dink around, you can use that for
meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
They should have used their time for a lot of different things than what they did.
I would have loved a conversation with
goofy things.
I would have loved a conversation with Castiel and God before he's whisked away by Amara. And that could have also been a good way to explore relationships with fathers and sons or brothers and sisters, to be like Castiel talking about how he felt about him and how he still loved him or anything like that. You know, that could be part of like this
They
is
don't
Chuck
know how
going
to
like
do
we need
any
to make
development
amends.
with Castiel at this point.
It's such a he's so wasted, and it was such
Yeah,
a rich character to begin with.
Yeah, he's just been stuck in the same spot ever since the Leviathan story, pretty much.
How easily were the angels convinced that Lucifer was Castiel just because he used a growly voice?
Yeah.
It's like he's like, hey, if you guys aren't gonna listen to me, how about your pal Castiel? Like, hey guys, it's me Castiel. And they're like, oh, it must be him. And like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, or he could be acting.
Yeah. Like I see.
How dumb are
maybe
you?
You'd have to make them say they can sense it, but they couldn't sense it before, right? So why would they? Stupid.
Stupid. All of it stupid. So, I don't know. Do you have any like final thoughts about Supernatural as a whole, or this season, or anything?
Should have ended at 5.
Yeah. I would say if there are people listening that have not watched Supernatural, that are just listening to these podcasts because they think that we're entertaining, check out the first 5 seasons. There honestly is some great stuff. It just shouldn't have come to this. It's not worth it in the end. I really just feel insulted and irritated and tired.
Like I said, it didn't have to go this way even. Like there was stuff you could do with the show beyond the 5 seasons, but just it's felt aimless since then. And when they try to bring in big things like this season, they don't use it to its full potential and it feels mundane. Everything feels like a walk in the park, which is exactly what it ended with.
It really was a walk in the park. Oh my god. Oh my god. But really, I think this episode should have been called Holy Crap. Because it's a lot of holy crap going on in this. Wah, wah. So,
or
I guess...
Walk in the park.
Or a walk in the park. Holy crap. So I guess to wrap things up, thank you everyone who's been listening. We very much appreciate all of the comments and taking the time to listen to us bitch about Supernatural. Things will continue on in other podcasts. Life goes on.
We'll talk about shows that aren't so draining.
So to end things, don't carry on, my wayward son.
It's done.
Now we rest. For 1,000 years.